You're listening to Municast, the podcast that discusses municipal leadership. Season 4 of Municast is brought to you by SaskTel's Innovation and Collaboration team. SaskTel can help you sort through the noise to create solutions that add value quickly, whether it's reducing your environmental footprint, driving investment, community development, or just saving money. Contact your SaskTel account manager to find out more. Municast is hosted by SUMA, the voice of Saskatchewan's hometowns. I'm Stephanie, SUMA's Education and Events Coordinator, and in Season 4 of Municast, we are tuning in to the 2023 SUMA Convention and Tradeshow and speaking to some of the key participants. On this episode, I'm joined by Cody Demerais, Métis entrepreneur from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, and the keynote speaker at the 2023 SUMA Convention. Cody has personal experience dealing with mental health and addictions and will be sharing his inspiring story of how he transformed hardship into success during the convention keynote. Cody is the owner and founder of Limitless Gear Clothing and is a motivational speaker and consultant. Cody is passionate about his work and his growing family. Welcome, Cody. Thank you for joining me for this conversation today.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. I'm looking forward to this podcast, most definitely.
We are also really looking forward to having you join us as the keynote speaker for the 2023 SUMA Convention. You are a Métis entrepreneur from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, and you'll be sharing your story of life lessons that you have learned the hard way. Before I start jumping into questions about your keynote, I wanted to get to know you a little bit better. What would you say are some of the top 3 things that SUMA members should know about you before your keynote presentation?
I've lived such a wild life when I was younger, for sure. I've seen a lot of the ups and downs that life has to offer when it comes to addiction, mental health, and things of that matter, of course, and where those extensive issues can take a person. So, full transparency, I don't want to live a life where I do a career that I don't necessarily have passion or that I enjoy. And so full truth is that I am absolutely incredibly passionate about every single thing that I get to do in this life, because I think of it as a gift, and I don't believe, getting another chance at life and not living something that you're truly passionate about doing. So one of the major things I have to express to everyone that may be listening and may be listening in the keynote is that I am one of the most extremely passionate people when it comes to the work that I do. And I'm very thankful that I get to do it on such a continuous basis, because I also am able to take care of my family through it and as well give back to the world that has given me another chance at life.
I think that's something that a lot of our municipal leaders can relate to as well, is that passion and really going for something because you're truly passionate about it.
Well, I think this world is, whatever way you want to cut it, it's short enough in life to not live something that you're fully passionate about, right? To not live a life that gives you complete and the utmost energy when you just wake up in the morning, your feet hit the ground. Of course, there's some late nights that I stay at my office a little bit later than I should normally, here and there, and especially with having a brand new newborn. The sleepless nights can happen, but of course I have an amazing partner and that goes a long ways. But, regardless if I'm running on 3 hours of sleep or if there's one lucky night where I might get 8, I am ready to hit that ground running. And I just want to run. I want to run, physically flat out run with this world that we have to offer. And, I'm thankful for that energy. I think it partially has something to do with my ADHD, but you know what? I used to see that as a curse, but now I see it as a blessing. I know one of the things is that with my ADHD, when I learned that I had it, it upset me deeply, because I only found out I had my diagnosed ADHD severe to high ratio when I was about 22 years old for the first time in my life. I was in a trade school actually prior to becoming a full-time entrepreneur and public speaker. And a trades teacher, I thought he was just bugging me at first. He said, "Have you ever got yourself tested for, any learning disabilities or anything? Because a lot of the things that I tell you, you don't really retain." And of course, I thought he was just bugging me because he normally would like to bug me, and we had back and forths all the time. But, and then I actually sat down with a student advisory counselor, whatever it may be, at Sask Polytech in Saskatoon, and did, the 6 to 10 hour testing. And they found out I had severe to high ADHD. And a lot of my life made sense at age 23, 22, whenever I found that out. And At first, though, like I said, I thought I was flawed. I thought I had something wrong with me, but I didn't necessarily know how to put that in the right directions for me to set up for success. Now, becoming an entrepreneur, it has worked out a great deal to my benefit for having that extra energy to work those 10, 12-hour days if I need be. Also having to do all these little tasks that I might have to do in a day and bounce back and forth between them. It's helped me a great deal. But at the same time, for bigger projects like wanting to write an autobiography and, finish a couple of things that I've wanted to do, it can be a little challenging at times. I've definitely found in my life, because I'm a very quick acting person, like a very impulsive person. When I see something, my gut instinct tells me yes or no, and I go with the answer that my gut tells me. In my past, before I learned how to channel that properly, it took me down some bad paths, of course, but I also didn't know the physiology, the psychology of myself. And, as soon as I started to learn how my DNA, how my makeup is made up, I started to really find the ways and the avenues to put myself in the best direction for the best success. And so when it comes to that, I'm very thankful. And, it took me a few years, of course, of how to earn and gain and respect that self-awareness that I'm very thankful to this day to have learned a great deal of myself. It's one of the contributing factors of why I am where I am today.
Given us a lot of a background about yourself, so I'm really looking forward to that keynote presentation. The title is A Personal Journey from Battling Addiction to Becoming a Successful Entrepreneur. Can you tell me a little bit more, without sharing too much, about what you'll be talking about during your keynote presentation?
Most definitely. Well, first of all, I do just want to thank your organization for inviting me to be that keynote speaker. Every single time, whether it's a room of 5 or whether it's a room of 300, I feel completely thankful for every single opportunity that I get when it comes to speaking. Now, personally, if I could speak 7 days a week for organizations or companies like yourselves or schools, I promise you I would. But at the same time, I think that's my obsessive, addictive personality trait coming out. And so we're going to have to pull a couple strengths back on that guy and, just make sure we have a nice flow of life. So one of the things that I will be sharing is some of the places that my addictions, my mental health took me, some of the reasons why I believe that is, without, of course, a social work degree or, psychology degree. I definitely don't believe, myself personally, I ever needed to pursue those things. I believe with self-awareness and some of the past situations that I've lived in my life, it has given me a degree, of exactly what I need to know. And self-learning and education, I'm honestly constantly learning at a very rapid pace, and that allows me to express myself and communicate myself as much as I am able to do to this day. So for that keynote, I plan on being fully raw and fully authentic and fully just real with the audience, like I plan on doing with every single audience moving forward, and like I've tried my very best in the past.
I think that's a really important point there that you made about the experience and the learning that you get from lived experience. We can't experience things through a book. And so a lot of that expertise comes from what you've gone through, and that learning will be really valuable for our audience.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. No, I'm not saying one is better than the other. There's a lot of beautiful people in this world that have psychology degrees or, have social work degrees, things of that matter, masters and all that fun jazz, right? I definitely do not take one thing away from those people. I promise you that. For me personally, when I looked into long-term goals and things of that matter, for me, with a brand new little one, 4 months old, a fiance, of a very, very rapidly growing business, when it comes to my retail business, as well my public speaking and workshops business, I looked down the line and I just didn't see that being an option for me necessarily. And I mean, I could make it work, but I do believe where the best education for me personally comes to that time where I can sit down and I can digest a book as much as possible, and I can retain it in the best way possible, and I can use it the best way possible. And, online courses and things of that matter, the amount of time and consumption that I put into self-education when it comes to the resources out there on the internet or in a book, it would surprise some people as much time as I put into it, and resources like money as well. But I definitely believe trying to be the best person that you can be, being the leader that you need to be in this world to actually make a difference. I definitely believe it comes from being a lifelong learner and somebody who definitely believes in invest in themselves, because Warren Buffett said one of the best investments he's ever made, or one of the best investments you ever could do, is of course the investment in yourself.
And as you know, your audience at the SUMA convention are Saskatchewan's elected municipal officials and staff. And many of those people do have to continue doing different forms of lifelong learning in order to keep their municipalities running in the most effective ways possible. How do you see your messaging being valuable for Saskatchewan's municipal leaders?
Everywhere you look, you see mental health. Everywhere you look, you see addictions. Everywhere you look, you see hardship. Now, I love to be the person that believes in uplifting and positive, stories. But when you see the news and you hear the radio and you see all the, investigations going on about different regions on different subjects, it makes my heart ache for a lot of those people that have not found their way past addictions or mental health issues. And I believe after COVID, it only transpired and it only transferred, from a rising issue, of course, to an extreme, pandemic in itself. I believe every leader needs to have a sense of what they need to do as best for their people when it comes to mental health and addictions, because so much of our world, unfortunately, is living with that kind of situation on either or both, because they are extremely intertwined together. I'm very thankful that, SUMA has wanted to bring me in and to believe that I have some knowledge and experiences to share, because I fully believe that they can learn a few things from, my past life story. And I promise to bring that to the table. And I'm thankful for that.
Across the province, SaskTel is engaged with many different municipal organizations who seek to innovate. Contact your SaskTel account manager to learn more about some of these initiatives and how they can help your municipality today. So SUMA has been trying to put the spotlight on addressing mental health and addictions, and recently took it on as one of our cornerstone advocacy issues. So over the last several months, we've had the opportunity to have conversations with provincial ministers, municipal leaders, businesses, government ministries, and many more about mental health and addictions in Saskatchewan. And one of the main themes that continues to come up is how broad the issue can be and how it requires all levels of leadership across sectors to work together. But we haven't had the opportunity to hear from many people about their own personal experiences with mental health and addictions. As someone who shares their personal story, what have you seen as some of the main challenges for addressing mental health and addictions, particularly in Saskatchewan?
Just want to put this out there. Some of the best leadership traits that I've ever seen from my personal experience, and whatever level of that may be, business, government, whatever, I've definitely seen the best leadership traits are vulnerability. To me, that makes a powerful leader, because you are no longer putting yourself ahead of anyone else. You're putting yourself on the same basis, understanding, with some empathy, sympathy, that we all go through some struggles in life, right? Whether or not you were born into a different region, a different lifestyle, addictions, mental health, they can reach every single circle of life. And I've seen it, I've witnessed it. But I think one of the best leadership traits I've ever seen is somebody being vulnerable and being real and being authentic. And I would love nothing more to see that in every single leader that we have there in the world. Because I believe that speaks to the people that, they of course are elected to hopefully help.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the time when we talk about mental health and addictions, we often talk about the struggle. And for a lot of people, going into that vulnerability about their struggles can be really difficult. But the story of recovery is incredibly valuable too. And during your keynote, I look forward to hearing about the moments that pushed you to change the path that you were on. But what are some of the things that help keep you on your new path?
With SUMA here, when I am the keynote speaker, getting to do those things on a repetition, on a continuous basis, being able to provide value to people in this world with some of the things that I've been through in myself, in my life. When I first started public speaking, it was an engagement, one every few months, or 2 in a month, and then not another one for, another 4 months later. The span of engagements when I first started, I found something that came up each and every single time. I almost felt like a drain on my energy, a drain on my emotions when I had that wide span of not being able to continue doing what I'm doing to this day on a very, very full extent. Once again, that's my addictive personality, but it's healing for me each and every single time. And I've healed from a lot of situations from my past, and I'm thankful for that. But this speaking, adding value to people, trying to find ways to make people's lives better and hopefully teach lessons that I have to share has definitely been one of my best recovery aspects of my life. As well, my fiance. Now, I don't tell her this enough, but when we got together and when we started seeing each other, I was still trying to be self-destructive and trying to push people away that I cared about, because I used to use it as a self-defense mechanism. And I used to push people away before they could push me away eventually. That's what I thought, and that is what I did, within my subconscious, of course, without me even knowing it, until I started realizing patterns that were happening over and over again. And once you understand a pattern of your physiology, your psychology over and over again, you're really able to start tweaking and adjusting things. And that's when it comes to that self-awareness of, understanding who you are and understand what you are made of. So the speaking, my fiance, and as well my business, because it has allowed me to be creative. It has allowed me to put as much energy as I want into it, with still having tons more to do at the end of the day. Like today alone, of course, I'm speaking with you, Stephanie, on this podcast. I have another podcast this afternoon. I'm speaking with 2 school principals today. I'm speaking with a digital company today that wants to help me with getting better online. My calendar today alone is extremely full, but I love it and I'm passionate about doing it. And it's one of the many things that's also helped me keep on the path that I am on now.
I think that's really interesting how you mentioned that it's healing for you, and how there's so many different types of healing, because I think even just listening to how much you have going on today alone, that would be exhausting for some people. But for you, it's not, because it is that something that drives you. And a couple of other things that you highlighted there were relationships and passion. And those are a few things that we hear a lot about when it comes to mental health and addictions, how important those close relationships are, and having something to strive for, to look forward to going forward. Yeah, it can be quite difficult to see the light on the other side when battling with mental health and addictions. Are there any messages that you would like to share with people currently dealing with some of those challenges?
Yeah. So full transparency, when there has been dates that have came up of friend of mine, old friends of mine passing away due to substance abuse issues, or, issues of getting in a fight and a weapon getting brought out, things of that matter. I've lost a few good friends in the past few years because they weren't able to get away from, a lifestyle that used to hold on to me as well. Where my life started to turn around for the better was, like I said, to go back to that leadership trait about being authentic, being real. There's been a few nights, like I said, where I, being the person that I am, I have my weak moments too. And I, those dates that come up of a friend passing, or, an annual memory of, a car crash that I was involved in when I was younger. Those take me down a few pegs for a few hours or a few minutes or whatever, but not hiding that from my significant other has been something I'm very thankful for, because, like in the past, I used to hide a lot of those things that were bothering me, and then it would bottle up until I would have to go drink, or I'd have to go use to get all of that out and numb it all out. And then, at the end of the night, it would pop, that pressure, and it would build, and it would put me in a troublesome situation. Being real and being authentic with those around you is probably one of the most important things that I do have to share, is because it's allowed me to still continue on this path that I am now. And I'm thankful for that. But I definitely know if I've held a lot of those things to myself, I probably wouldn't be the happy individual that I am today.
You really highlighted there the need for self-awareness and for gratitude. But you also touched on something that I don't think we talk about often enough is the weight of some of those relationships. There are the ones that help us to move forward, but there are also the friends and the people that were close to you that are still struggling with some of those things, and the weight of watching people go through that or losing people because they have not been able to get out on the other side, and how that is definitely a part of it as well. So thank you for bringing that forward.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
So that brings me to the end of my questions for today. Do you have any final comments for our listeners?
That once again, I'm just very thankful that SUMA, has wanted me to be a keynote speaker for this upcoming conference. And you know what? One of the things that I love leaving every single audience, whether it be a speaking engagement, whether it be a workshop, whether it be a podcast like this today, one of the best things that I love to share, because I definitely believe it involves and it empowers everyone that listens to these words, is that once you believe you have the ability and capacity to do great things, that is when life becomes limitless.
This brings us to the end of another episode of Municast. Episode 4 of Season 4 features a conversation with the 2023 SUMA Convention MC, Joan McCusker, and will be released on April 12th. In Episode 4, we will discuss Joan's curling career, where it has taken her, and how her Saskatchewan upbringing helps her connect to audiences around the world. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoy listening in as much as we have enjoyed having these conversations.